ever met a guy, looks completely ordinary at first glance, but the more you're around him, the more he kind of scares you? Not the tatted up thug type of scary or the loud screaming boss type, more like a chilling kind of calm. Let me tell you a story. Commercial gym right in downtown New York. There's this older guy, name's Mark, 53, hair's graying at the temples. Wearing a faded, beat-up gray t-shirt, running shoes definitely not name brand. Doesn't check his phone between sets. No grunting or roaring when he lifts. The blasting gym music? Completely blocked out of his world. Couple of 20-somethings accidentally take over his machine. He just smiles slightly, takes a step back, waits patiently. Zero annoyance. But the way he presses that weight, the way he stares straight ahead, you just know this guy's no rookie. He's been through hell. Turns out, 5 years ago, Mark lost everything. Company went under, wife divorced him, had to move into a tiny sublet apartment, sleeping on a mattress straight on the floor. He was 48 back then. Everyone figured his life was over. Just a long, slow slide into irrelevance. But look at him now. 53. Lean, sharp presence, running a small boutique consulting fund that makes serious bank. Most important part, he's not trying to prove a damn thing to anyone anymore. Outsiders looking in will say, oh, he's just lucky, blessed, or got good genetics. Wrong. Dead wrong. Behind men who get genuinely strong in the second half of life, there's never a bed of roses. They weren't born out of convenience. They were forged in the wreckage. And their breakthrough at 40, at 50. It's not an accident. It's a precise psychological law, an underdog shift that youth just can't replicate. This video isn't some cheap motivational pep talk. No, hang in there, you got this. BS here. Today, we're dissecting the brutal reality and the core psychology. Why some men get more dangerous as they get older, and why your past years of suffering weren't wasted time. Let's be real for a second. What are the 20s and 30s for most men anyway? A survival race just to fit into someone else's mold. The psychologist Carl Jung once said something along these lines. The first half of life is all about learning to adapt, putting on the mask society hands you, and trying your best to play the part. And that mask? It's called the good son, the guy who stays in his lane, the loyal employee who never talks back to his boss, or the husband who always says yes. Look at that 32-year-old guy over there. Every single morning, 7:30 a.m. sharp, he's at his desk. Sitting in that cramped little cubicle, drinking lukewarm coffee, listening to his manager drone on about next quarter's sales targets, he feels something's off. This low-grade, simmering frustration right in his chest, it's like trying to force a size 11 foot into a size 10 shoe. You can still walk, right? You can even force a few steps into a run. But your big toe, it always hurts. It reminds you every single second, this is not where you belong. But does he dare to quit? No, because he's terrified of being called irresponsible. Terrified of being labeled unstable. Or take another type of guy, way more common in the US. The nice guy, the dude who always plays the saint. Someone asks for a favor, he does it. Phone rings at midnight, he picks up. Lends money, too scared to ask for it back. Terrified of the word no because he thinks refusing means he's selfish. He buys into this naive belief that if I'm useful to them, they'll love me. And then what? He gets used. By friends, coworkers, even his own family. There's this quote from a middle-aged guy on Reddit that goes, "The biggest mistake of my life was mindless kindness. I let people walk all over my boundaries for over a decade, just because I was scared of making them sad." When you base your entire worth on what can I do for others, you're not a good person. You're just a slave to validation, and you're going to pay for that obedience with your own life energy. But whatever gets compressed too much has got to explode eventually. You can lie to your mind with all the excuses you want, but your body, it doesn't know how to lie. Picture a 42-year-old guy. driving home at 7 p.m., bumper-to-bumper traffic on the highway. His phone is buzzing nonstop in the console, 15 unread emails, 3 deadlines hanging over his head. He makes good money, he's got a stable spot in society, but he's drained. A kind of exhaustion that normal science can't really explain. Not the muscle soreness you get after a soccer game. More like waking up after 8 hours of sleep and still feeling completely empty. Brain fog, zero focus. Psychology calls this the rebellion of the subconscious. Every single ambition you buried because you were scared people would call you greedy. Every bit of anger you swallowed just to keep the peace. They don't just vanish. They go straight into the shadow. They eat away at you from the inside. That steady or stable exterior of yours? It's actually a boiling pressure cooker with the valve locked tight. And then, boom, the breaking point hits, usually right around 45 or 50. It rarely comes softly. It comes like a slap right across the face. For one guy, it's a bombshell in the exam room, sitting there shivering in a paper-thin gown, listening to the doctor talk about liver enzymes or stroke risks. For another, it's standing in the corner at his daughter's wedding, watching the kid he raised walk down the aisle and suddenly realizing, damn it, whose life have I been living for the last 20 years? I sacrificed myself for a mold I actually hated. And the worst part? The breaking point can be that 1 year where everything collapses all at once. Losing the job, the marriage falling apart, a loved one passing away. Carl Jung called this phase the dark night of the soul, the pitch black dark right before the shift. The old mask is shattered, but the new you hasn't shown up yet. You're stuck in the middle, empty, disoriented, feeling like you missed the train of life and your shot is gone. But hear me out. If you're right at that miserable crossroads, if you're watching this at 45 thinking it's too late, you're wrong. That numbness, that feeling of being completely stuck, it's not the end. It's the exact pressure needed to blow the safety valve. No man ever reincarnates during a smooth year. People only truly change when the cost of staying the same becomes way more expensive than the cost of changing. So, what does a man who actually wakes up in his middle years look like? Does he go out and buy a flashy convertible or start dating girls in their 20s just to prove he's still got it? No. That's a failed midlife crisis right there. True strength at a later age. It's incredibly quiet. The 50-year-old dude hitting the gym now, he's not doing it for a six-pack to pick up women anymore. Back when he was 25, he trained because he was terrified of being called skinny, terrified of getting dumped, or terrified of looking like his beer-bellied dad. But now, he trains because he's curious. He wants to know what this body at this age can still do. No performance, no vanity selfies for social media. He finishes his set, wipes his sweat, and walks out. He starts learning how to say no. A brutal, short no that doesn't come with a laundry list of excuses to justify it. I'm busy, I can't make it, period. And he's shocked to realize, turns out when you refuse, the world doesn't end. People don't hate you like you thought they would. Actually, it's the exact opposite. They start respecting your boundaries. He stops caring so much about whether other people agree with his opinions. Instead, he just asks himself one thing. Am I being completely honest with myself when I say or do this? That right there is the power of a man who has lost things. When you've been fired at 40 and realize you didn't die, when you've been divorced, walked away with absolutely nothing, and figured out you can still cook for yourself and survive just fine, when you've stood over the graves of your parents, then the judgments of some random coworkers or petty social media drama, they don't mean a damn thing to you anymore. There's this great quote from an entrepreneur who started over at 48. Everything good came late to me, money, career, and self-respect. But because it came late, I hold on to it tight. I know exactly how much blood and sweat it cost. Age doesn't automatically make a man strong. Neither does pain. What builds a man of steel is the way he sits down with that pain, looks it dead in the eye, drains the lessons from it, and stands back up to keep moving. So, to all the brothers out there in their 40s and 50s, or any young guys feeling like you're falling behind, don't fear those compressed, suffocating years. You're not too late. You haven't failed. You're just in the chapter people never post about on social media, the chapter of building pressure before the explosion. Just stay patient. Keep a cold head and get ready for the next chapter of your life. Thanks for sticking around with DeepShift. If this video hit home for you, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and drop your story in the comments below. We'll be right here, unlocking the next dark corners of human psychology together. For now, take care and see you next time.